Hey guys, I'm Benton with the Everyday Craftsman, and today I'm going to talk about how I built this little side table for my kids. So like I said, this was a side project that kind of started as a shop project. I cut these tenons on the table saw off camera, and I started cutting the mortises just by using a 1/4-inch drill bit and then finishing it up with a 1/4-inch chisel. This was a little slow and a little messy. Hi buddy, go away, I'm recording. It's my dog. I just wanted to practice mortise and tenon joints. It's not a thing that I do much. I did the rest of them with a spiral upcut bit on a router, which went a lot faster. I was just checking the depth, and I needed to cut against the depth of the tenon. Cleaning up the mortises with a chisel, and starting assembly at this point, at least a dry fit. My goal was to build something the kids would enjoy and play with, but also not to use any hardware in this build. It's all just joinery and glue. Not particularly complicated joinery. Mortise and tenon joints, butt joints. Just an excuse to try out a few other techniques. Here I'm just cutting the bottom supports. Again, these are just glued. There's no joinery. Glued and clamped. I use a couple 2x4s scrap pieces just to make sure they're all the same height. And I think I'm catching up on the Mandalorian at the same time. I have a bunch of Harbor Freight clamps. That's kind of my go-to for those F-style clamps. I wanted to try out something else new. This is a really thin 1/4-inch piece of plywood for the top. So I wanted to try out just some edge banding with some of the poplar I had, which I know is like what people say is a soft hardwood. And also kind of a faux thick edge, so that my edge banding actually hangs below the width of the plywood top. But once it's all painted, the idea is to give it a look like it's thicker than it actually is, which works out well for something like this that you kind of want light. It's a kid's table. Nothing fancy. Glued them on, clamped them on. Next day I came back and just cut them off. I have one of these really high TPI Irwin saws. It's been fine. It's super flexible, which is handy. I do have a Japanese pull saw that I've abused. This is just putting on the remainder of the edge banding. Same process. Clamping it on, cutting it off. I kind of wanted to test out, you hear people say that modern wood glue is so strong, the joint that you make with that glue will be stronger than the wood itself. So this was also an opportunity to put that to the test. I figured my kids probably standing on this thing would put that to the test. Sand everything. I do an 1/8 inch round over on most stuff. Just a nice soft rounded edge. I did a lot of back and forth with the bottom of this to keep it level. I've been trying to remember to brand stuff. My wife bought that for me a long time ago. And also, it was an opportunity to use this paint sprayer, which turned out really well. That HomeRite Supermax gave me a great finish. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. They don't play with it as much as I wish that they would, but that feels typical. I really liked I like trying out the new technique for hiding the plywood edge and also making this look like it's much thicker because it's about half this width. Also, like as a first time using that HomeRite sprayer, man, that was great. Like I've always wanted to get a really good finish like this. And a really even finish like this, and it was so much faster than brush painting. So I will use that a lot more in the future. I just did a couple quick coats of poly on the top, and that's it. The rest of it is just the paint finish. So this was a really fun project and a good excuse to try out some new techniques and things I've never done before. Thanks a lot. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. We're finishing